Hello, everybody, and welcome to the SteelChair Shoot podcast with your handsome host, James Toll. And joining me is the also slightly handsome host, not as handsome as me, good old JR. Joe, it's you, Joe, not JR. We couldn't afford Jim Ross.
Like how just to differentiate it, it's actually good old JR in my case, with a D.
Good old JR, yes. This is a slightly laid-back podcast than what you're used to because we have lost one member of our team, and we just decided that we're just going to make it slightly more chill and not worry anybody.
But yeah, we're here today to talk about the greatest Royal Rumble event. An event that couldn't even live up to being the greatest Royal Rumble match of this year.
It's not just a Rumble match, it is the greatest Royal Rumble match, according to WWE PR.
It is the greatest in terms of amount of people, but I haven't bothered to look this up yet, but is it even the longest?
I could not tell you.
Because I feel like I feel like it came in at 77 minutes and 20 seconds, which is pretty much the standard length of a Rumble, isn't it?
I mean, I think so. I mean, at the last Rumble match, Finn Balor lasted about 52 minutes. So, and then, we'll get into it later, but Daniel Bryan lasted a little bit longer. But don't know if that counts because this is a different Rumble match. So, but that's WWE not taking that. They listen to records and stats when they want to. First women's battle royale, not real. Sorry, got about.
Santina Morella.
Santina. Oh Jesus, we have to live with this. This is what happens when you become a wrestling fan. You have to deal with all the. Oh gee. Yeah. Anyway, before we get depressing.
I was going to say before we get depressing as well. I feel we should set a ground rule for this podcast so people have expectations, that being that I don't feel personally qualified to talk about the socio-political implications of this event being hosted in Saudi Arabia. I can talk about the constant propaganda machine being employed throughout, but I feel like, shall we avoid discussing the elephant in the room? Sorry to refer to the women's division as the elephant there.
You're digging a hole right now.
Well, actually, the elephant not in the room in this instance.
The elephant in the giant Saudi Arabian arena. I feel like as I feel like we're both white males, we might need to step back from this conversation.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's if you want an informed discussion of the implications of this event, please listen to more intelligent people than us.
Yes. Definitely.
So we're just going to be idiots who talk shit about the wrestling and pretend that this event took place in America, where there are no problems with the regime.
Woo! Firstly, I think before we get into the Royal Rumble thing, I'd like to introduce a new segment very quickly called What Wrestling Did We Watch This Week?
Ba-ba-ba-da-ba.
Need to work on the theme tune, but that's what we got so far. Boom. Anyway, Joe, what wrestling have you been watching this week, apart from the Greatest Royal Rumble?
Apart from the Greatest Royal Rumble, this week I was continuing my catch-up on various events I didn't see from WrestleMania weekend, as well as catching up on all the action from the Road to Wrestling Dontaku tour over in New Japan.
See, I've been meaning to watch that, but when it always says Road to and then to a pay-per-view, I'm kind of check out.
I will say that so far from the tour, there's been at least a handful of matches definitely worth watching. There's been singles action, not with a title involved, from Tomohiro Ishii and Henare. They both employ a similar style, and it's a great match if you like watching big lads twat each other.
Oh, you know me, Joe. I love big lads twatting each other, I do.
Yeah, I haven't actually got around to watching yesterday's Hinokuni show yet, but I will say that the singles matches between Juice Robinson and Hiroki Goto, and also Jay White and David Finlay for the Never Openweight and US titles, respectively, have both been fantastic.
Did you say the Nino Cooney show?
Sorry, no, Hinokuni.
Oh, Hinokuni. So I thought you were
like
Nino
it's not
Cooney
a show taking... Mr. Drippy is not making his debut.
Nino! Tombstone!
Did you see the April Fool's Day thing where New Japan announced that Eevee was going to be joining their roster, the Pokemon? And they announced his first match was going to be against Evil.
No.
I feel like they're only a few steps away from next year having wrestling Nino Cooney now.
I mean, it'll be a missed opportunity if they don't.
So yeah, James, what wrestling have you been watching?
It's been pretty lack this week when it comes to wrestling. The most recent thing I watched was actually I went to a wrestling show in Borehamwood for Pro Wrestling Clash, which was a independent show, which, by the way, one person's gimmick there, Rocky Mack, who is the most Irish thing I've ever seen in my life, and I love it. He is mostly green, I'd have to say so, and he's got the full-on Irish accent as well. So he came down wearing like Celtic football team what's the word? Kick pads. That's the word. And his Irish brother-in-law, I think it was Shane or Sean, I can't remember off the top of my head, came down wearing a Republic of Ireland football shirt, carrying a hockey stick, and also wearing a flat cap. And also got the ref out of the corner because they wanted to say a little prayer before they got started. So that was a fun match, and I need to be watching more NXT, to be honest. So that's always on my list.
I like how you introduced this segment and then also struggled for a moment there to name what wrestling you've watched this week.
I'm just going on the fly. I mean,
you're like Randy Orton with the SmackDown Top 10, just burying your own thing immediately.
Do not call me Randy Orton. I take huge offense to that. I am not that bland. So apparently, if I'm just going to bury my own segment, we'll just move on to the Greatest Royal Rumble. See what happened first.
That was what wrestling have you been watching this week?
Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. So, John Cena versus Triple H for the first match of the night. What did you think?
I liked this. I thought it was it felt like a house show match. Like, it didn't feel like this was particularly a serious confrontation between the two of them. And I thought that worked because it was this effectively the entire show weirdly felt like it was just a televised house show in order to say how shiny arenas in Saudi Arabia are. And, you know, you're never going to really get a bad match between Cena and Triple H. They are two of the best to come out of the WWE in recent years. Recent years, I mean the past 20 years. No one tweet me about that.
Don't at me.
Yeah, I thought it was... I thought towards the end of it, I was worried that we were going to get into pedigree and AA spamming territory. But overall, I thought it was a solid little opener. And also, what was great was quite how excited the crowd were about the idea of Triple H and John Cena. So it was a good way to start the show as well in terms of just setting a nice baseline of energy for it.
Yeah, I would agree to that. It was probably one of the most basic matches that these two have probably ever had. So that's my only sort of like nitpick complaint about it, just because they didn't really need to do much in order to get the crowd hyped. They just had to be there and do their stuff. You know, do the "You Can't See Me," do the DX thrust and everything. So
you feel like pretty much they could have just had this be John Cena did the hand wave thing, Triple H crotch chopped him, went for a pedigree, John Cena kicked out, hit 2 AAs, pin, done, and people still would have cheered as much. But that would have been just playing to the crowd. This, I thought, did work well as a match for the audience at home as well. Because, spoiler alert, I didn't go to Jeddah for the weekend.
Really? You couldn't afford to go? John Cena won this one. And yeah, it's a really basic match. So, moving on to the next one.
Are you going to skip the point where John Cena told the crowd what a pleasure and an honour it was to wrestle there?
Oh, yeah.
The first moment of the night when we find out quite how much the WWE are really trying to go after that Saudi Arabian money.
He was just so humble. Just so humble.
In many ways, it made his wish.
The most rewarding part was when they gave me my money.
So yeah, talking on from getting money and positive crowd reactions to a very good match with literally no one in the crowd reacting.
Yep.
The Cruiserweight title.
Oh dear. This was when they were like, wait, who? Who are these guys?
On last Tuesday's 205 Live, there was a 5-man gauntlet match that took up the entire show to determine who was going to be Cedric Alexander's number one contender in light of Buddy Murphy not having made weight. And the problem with that match for me was it kind of gave away who was going to win the match despite it taking the full hour, because Kalisto was the only other one on the poster out of the 5 guys in it.
Oh dear, WWE. So what, it actually took up the entire show?
Yeah, they it's worth going back and watching last week's 205 Live. It's a gauntlet match of Tony Nese, Drew Gulak, Kalisto, TJP, and Mustafa Ali. And yeah, it runs the entire show.
Not bad. That's actually quite good. I will probably have to go and check that after this. Yeah. But I actually really enjoyed this match itself, because I thought, it had all your basic 205 Live excitement. It was they definitely wanted to put on a really good show, especially given the environment and that. The only thing that let it down was the crowd just giving nothing. They were just not. They might as well not been there. I mean, they did cheer obviously at some points, but it was just like, you could have just seen a dust ball flying around. Just nothing. Just give them something, guys. These are the most energetic people on the entire roster, and you're just like, eh? Where'd John Cena go? I wanted to talk about Nikki. We will not open that can of worms here either.
Yeah, I feel like, as unqualified as we were to talk about the political situation, equally John Cena's love life. It's in his rules. He made us sign a contract that means we can't talk about it.
The many rules of John Cena. Yeah. We can't see it, we can't talk about it, we can't hear about it.
But yeah, I enjoyed this match a lot. It reminded me a lot of both of these guys have performed obviously over the Ring of Honor PWG type American scene, and it felt like they were taking a lot of that energy and keeping some really good smooth sequences going throughout it. And I just thought it was one of those things where I would have really loved it just if one person in the crowd felt like they'd given a shit. And I can't even criticize the two of them for not connecting to the crowd, because they were trying. They were doing everything they could. But this was a crowd intent on not knowing who they were.
I mean, I feel like it would have actually made it worse if you just heard one guy go, "Yeah, go Cedric."
I like how you assume the one guy is a Cedric fan as well.
Well, I mean, they're not going to be a Kalisto fan.
2-time US champion Kalisto.
And yet, he's blander than Randy Orton. You're just a bit bland. Lucha Libre.
But there were some good lucha things in this match.
Oh yeah, obviously you gotta get the lucha. It can't be a lucha without a lucha.
Yeah, though of course Cedric did still manage to take victory via a particularly nasty looking lumbar check.
They always look nasty. I'm always like, oh God, how are you alive after that?
Still, I think I know I want to go back to other matches that aren't this one. But I still think one of my highlights of this year has been when we got Cedric Alexander and Roderick Strong. Just for watching the lumbar check against the end of Heartache. Just who could put more pain on the back?
Whose spine's going to be broken after this? Let's find out. Oh God, they're all dead. Next on the card was the WWE Raw Tag Team Championship match with Cesaro and Sheamus versus Woken, Matt Hardy, and Bray Wyatt, which are my favourite tag team of this year so far. Well, anyone that knows me knows that I've been, ever since I found out about the broken / woken Matt Hardy gimmick, that I have been instantly in love with it. When Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy came back at WrestleMania, the previous WrestleMania, I jumped out of my seat because I was so bloody marky, wasn't I? And it's been a while, but Matt Hardy is still going strong, and now that they've had this little storyline with Bray Wyatt, which, by the way, perfect in my opinion when it comes to and like the light and the dark. But this match itself, I found. Well, no, I'll be honest. The match itself was quite it was lacking in some areas. I felt like it could have been better given the given the talent involved.
I think
I mean, I can't remember how long it actually went on for, but
it was 8 minutes and 50 seconds, according to an
see,
online encyclopedia website.
I feel like it could have been shorter
Hmm.
because it did feel like it was dragging in some areas, especially in the middle. But the Matt and Bray did manage to get the crowd a little bit livened up thanks to their literally just like clap, come on, clap, there you go, you can do it now. I feel like everyone pretty much knew that Cesaro and Sheamus weren't going to be winning this, mostly because SmackDown now, aren't they?
Yeah. You weren't
So-
going to have a team on SmackDown take the Raw Tag Team Championships.
They did sort of kind of backpedal and explain on the commentary. I think it was Michael Cole saying that, well, you know, if Cesaro and Sheamus win, then they get put back on Raw. It's like, well, why would WWE do something this overly complicated? Then I remember, oh wait, it's WWE. They always do things overcomplicated. But in this case, it was pretty much given that Bray and Matt were going to win, so the tension was just kind of gone. Again, similar to the that 205 Live match where it was like Kalisto was already announced to be part of that match. Yeah. Tension was just gone. And if you didn't care, then you'd be sitting there for a whole hour thinking, can we just get to the win, please? Just get this over with.
I feel like I would have liked it, actually, if Cesaro and Sheamus had won and then gone back to Raw. Just because it would basically mean, in kayfabe trading of the Superstar Shakeup, they were like, okay, we'll take the bar, you can have Breezango. And to which Kurt Angle's like, yeah, you can have the bar.
Yeah, that would have made sense. But you know the old phrase, that's why they'll never do it.
But beyond a bit at the beginning when Matt Hardy was having a taunt-off with Cesaro, with the Delete versus the Bar, and then a hot tag where Bray Wyatt ran wild hitting shutters on everybody. Yeah, I don't really have much to say about this match. It was there.
I mean, the only thing that slightly bothered me, like you said, was just that little taunt off. I don't remember ever going like just seeing Cesaro just like on its own, isolated, just go the Bar. I'm just put his left arm up. It's not really a thing you do on your own. Whereas Delete works perfectly on your own. Although some people might need to reorganize how they position that arm because we don't want the Nazi salutes.
We do have to still discuss with everybody. Make sure you remember that the Delete is hand down, flat like you're writing on a piece of paper, slide to the side. To the side.
I cannot stress this enough.
To the side.
Back and to the left.
We need the cast of JFK to reunite just to explain this to everyone.
Down and to the right. Oh man, what has this podcast become?
Yeah.
We've started doing bloody...
Talking of going downhill and to the right, ignore that last bit. It's Jeff Hardy versus Jinder Mahal for the US Championship.
Oh, Jesus.
Screw this match. Can we just say Jeff won? He one time tried to do a backflip and missed completely, but Jinder Mahal fell over anyway, moving on to the Bludgeon Brothers.
Have you heard of the phrase air biscuit?
I have not, but I am now.
Air biscuit is a phrase where you say you go for a move, but there's so much gap between, like if there's a gap between the move that obviously looks like it didn't hit, that phrase is called an air biscuit. This is a PSA for everyone. And Jeff and Jinder Mahal might be a world record for the biggest air biscuit in the world.
My way of justifying it in my head is actually from a tweet by South Pacific Power Trips TK Cooper, where one time in a Progress show he did a flip off the top rope and landed on a pile of people, but he landed such that a couple of them, he didn't actually land on them, but he said on the tweet they still fell over because they were just so awed by his sick flip. So that is my justification anytime these things happen. It's just that the person wasn't hit by the move, but they're just so impressed by the flip that they fall back in just sheer wow.
Even so, Jinder, he's done better flips. He normally runs into it. He runs into it and then does a flip. Jinder's just like, whoa, whatever. I will say, though, Jinder was okay in the match, apart from that slight moment.
Mm.
I mean, it was just he's obviously a mid card guy, not a top mid card guy, but he's at least in the right place at the minute. Not top of the company guy. Cannot stress this enough. Cannot stress this that they should not be a WWE. Not because of any offensive things or anything. It's literally just based on skill and Mike and just overall presence. Just I think we need to move on before I just go on a rant about Jinder Mahal again.
Yeah.
Because I don't want a bloody Jinder Mahal versus Randy Orton feud again. I'm not bitter.
No, I think instead we're getting Jeff Hardy versus Randy Orton possibly because it's 2007.
I don't mind. I was watching it in 2007. It's a callback for me.
Just
they're
to
pandering
you.
to me now, Joe.
And yeah,
just me. That's a lie. Because if they were just pandering to me, Finn Balor would be winning.
Yeah, if they were pandering to me, at this point we would have had Survivor Series. Jinder would have been WWE champion. Heath Slater would have been Universal, and Drew McIntyre would have been NXT. And we would have finally got the champ v champ v champ 3-man band triple threat.
Is this just your 2K18 universe mode? Is this just what you've been doing?
This isn't 2K18 universe mode, because if it was, then it would have just been me against Primo Cologne in weekly no disqualification matches.
Okay, quick sideline for WWE 2K18. It's possibly a really bad game, but also a really fun one at the same time. And most recently in the universe mode, I skipped ahead to a WrestleMania, and one of the key matches on there was Goldust versus Brock Lesnar.
I also recently I'm still on 2K17 technically, so it was actually one of the Los Matadores, not Primo. But also, my WrestleMania main event on my game was Fandango versus... I can't remember who. I think it might have been Fandango versus one of the Ascension. Not for a title.
Just a match.
Yeah, I just remember it was Fandango in a marquee match in the main event of Mania. Not for any titles. And he had a title, but he didn't put it on the line.
Wasn't good enough to put on the line. This is what happens when you let the fans take control. Also, one of the main events was Aiden English versus Randy Orton for the WWE Championship, which, by the way, I would actually watch.
I would. But yeah, I think they really need to lock it down with that booking. Talking of locking things down, the Uso Penitentiary.
Oh.
As we move on to our next match for the SmackDown Tag Team Championship, it was those dastardly Bludgeon Brothers up against the Usos. James, what did you think?
Sorry, what?
Oh, just saying it was the SmackDown Tag Team Championship match with the Usos versus the Bludgeon Brothers. What did you think?
Oh, yeah, that happened.
You know how we complained about the WrestleMania match, that it seemed like it was good, but that they were only given like 5 minutes?
Yes, I remember this. I remember this conversation.
What would happen if they just did the same match again, but they thought, let's just take the New Day out this time and have it just be 2 teams? And still no more than 5 minutes.
Well, in this fantasy world where that definitely wouldn't happen, I would say that was a complete load of bollocks. Why did they do this? The Usos were so good. They've been so... Okay, they are still good. They are still good in the SmackDown tag team environment, but they've just been... I'm not going to say buried because that word gets overused, but they've just been... It feels like they've just been let down a little bit by creative.
Mm.
They've just been pushed down a little bit in order to make way for Rowan, Harper, the Hammer Bros.
And I have no problem with with Donnie and Lonnie Hammer, but it is just and I feel like actually if they'd given these teams what you were saying about the tag match being a bit long, if they'd trimmed a couple of other matches and given this match even a full 10 minutes just, I think it would have been a really fun match. It was just that they were told, you've got 5 minutes. So they thought, well, we still want to kind of have a 15-minute match. What if we did it all but tried to squeeze it in? So it was just a bit awkward in the timing.
It's the annoying thing, because we know all these guys can do well. We know these guys can put on good matches. It's just they've just not had enough time to fulfill that, and just sort of went, okay, spot. Okay, we'll do another spot. Yeah. Okay, quickly. All right, now it's over. Okay, let's go. Let's get out of the building. The fans losing interest. But
in tribute to that match being so short, let's also keep this review for short and say the Bludgeon Brothers won. Moving on.
They did indeed. Next up was the on my piece of paper, it says the WWE Intercontinental Championship ladder match. Seth Rollins, Finn Balor, The Miz, and Samoa Joe. Joe, what did you think?
Once again, this was one that I thought was quite similar, actually, in its presentation to the WrestleMania match that Rollins, Balor, and Miz had. In that it wasn't exactly a psychology-heavy match, but they kept the pace going well. They didn't let it fall into the rut of just being lots of one-on-one encounters. Even though that did happen, it didn't feel like it was just stalely following the formula. And also, I really like this match for one particular reason, which is, finally, a WWE ladder match where the winner doesn't spend the 10 minutes prior to winning just sitting around at ringside. All 4 of them were actually involved pretty much all the way through.
That is true. They were actually all contributing and doing stuff. Yeah. That was good. Yeah. I didn't like this as much as the similar WrestleMania match, but I did quite like it. I thought it was quite fun, especially Joe taking that ladder and just destroying everybody with it. Although there was one particular moment where you could tell he was getting quite annoyed that the ladder would not want to stay in the corner.
That is true,
You don't put baby in the corner. You don't put that ladder in the corner either.
Yeah, I do feel like what this is really showing is that, quite frankly, if Samoa Joe hasn't by pretty much this time next month taken that US title, then there is just no real justice, because for just so long he's been this good without getting even a whiff of a title, really.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely deserves it at this point. Definitely, at least, because the closest he's had so far was the Universal title, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, is he doing anything at Backlash? Is there anything happening at Backlash for that?
I don't know, but there's still, I think it's currently at Backlash, it's Samoa Joe against Roman Reigns.
Oh, because we've never seen that before. I mean, there definitely wasn't a weak link in this match, I thought. Everyone definitely pulled it out of the bag and definitely just brought something entertaining. It's just not as good as the WrestleMania match. I don't think that's not anyone else's fault. That's just because we've seen it.
And yeah, it was that I like a lot of what the things they're doing. I like how they're not exactly building a rivalry between Seth Rollins and Finn Balor, but almost making it just that they're two people who seem to fight each other a lot, put on good matches, and it's more just, they're still kind of happy for the other one when they beat them. And I did like the way they did the finish with Rollins just, while Finn was climbing the ladder, just jumping straight up and pretty much crawling quickly past him and grabbing the ladder before Finn could. Because I think that's something we haven't seen before, which is just the idea of, why would you stick around and wait for somebody and start punching them? Why wouldn't you just try and get the belt off before they got there?
That was such a cheeky move. Cheeky little Rollins sneaking in.
Finn was just like, fair play, you got me there. I'll just hang out here while you swing the title round or something.
I'll just like it's a toy. Like it's a toy in Toys R Us, which is defunct now. Anyone else feel old? Just me.
So what we can take from this match is that clearly Finn Balor should be the Universal Champion again, preferably tomorrow. Thank you.
Yes, I agree. I agree to sentiment. Sign up to our 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 poll.
Yeah.
Just to make it happen. Come on, we gotta get this pledge going.
Yeah.
What was next?
Frankly, if we had to watch Finn Balor just lose to Brock Lesnar, though, that would be a real punch in the dick. Talking of punch in the dick, it's AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura for the WWE Championship.
Match of the night. Ooh, match of the night. Yeah.
Now, before we begin, we do have to just this remix that he's using now. He's Bad Shinsuke is great.
I love it.
And yeah.
It's just so, oh man.
Yeah.
They took the original theme, which was just to get the crowd like hyped up and everything, built up so perfectly. And now that he's this cocky dick of a character, they've just emphasized that with the music, and it just works perfectly.
And yes, I know that for native Japanese speakers out there that I've heard complaints that the actual rapping on it's not exactly proper Japanese in terms of its phrasing, and that some of it's more colloquialized or slangish. But the thing is, on most wrestling themes, you can't fully understand the lyrics a lot of the time anyway. And it sounds good in terms of the delivery and the actual meter of it. It's like if you try to analyze the lyrics to the Revivals theme, you'll realize they're terrible.
I mean, anything can sound good if you deliver it in the right way. For example, Joe, you're a terrible podcast person, but I love you.
Thanks.
See? Now we're friends.
Exactly. So back to the dick punching extravaganza that was this match.
I feel like I'm gonna get a dick punch after this. AJ Nakamura. I thought it was match of the night because it was better than their match. Not as good as the New Japan match, but let's be honest, guys, nothing's ever gonna top that match. It definitely had some more psychology to it. Definitely had AJ trying to catch Nakamura out multiple times after the multiple unending punches to the balls that would just never stop. I just quickly love that he's doing that every week.
I love that he's also continuing to full on Sagat style tiger uppercut the balls. This isn't your regular low blow.
I just kept hoping in my mind that every week that Nakamura uppercuts the little AJs, that his voice gets a little bit higher until we get to the point where, say, like a few more weeks from now, AJ just sounds like a chipmunk.
I did read a thing online that someone suggesting that maybe Shinsuke Nakamura is the actual face in this feud, and what we don't realize is he dresses like he does because he's come from the future, having realized that AJ's next child is Hitler. The next Hitler. And so he's just constantly doing it to stop the next Hitler. Which is the exact kind of storytelling I want them to be doing. I want it to be when Shinsuke finally explains himself, him just to say, I'm stopping Hitler too.
That's the best thing I've heard all week.
I can't remember where I read this, but if you're listening to it, person who thought up that idea on the Tights and Fights Facebook group, thank you.
I'm hoping that they at some point in the next few weeks they recreate that spot that Goldberg and Bret Hart did in WCW, where have you seen that one
where he wears the plate to knock out Goldberg when he goes to the spear?
Yeah, so AJ Styles is just gonna at one point wear a steel cup, and when AJ hits it, he's gonna his arm's gonna go nah. And then AJ just drops his trousers and reveals the cup. Although now I'm saying out loud, probably not PG.
Imagine if they'd done that in Jeddah.
I'll just love if he's just wearing boxer shorts that say they don't want none.
They don't want none.
They don't. They do not. They do not want any of that. Anyway, speaking of the match itself, it ended in a interesting way where they were both counted out, but that didn't stop them from still beating the shit out of each other. Because guess what? These guys hate each other so much, and instead of Nakamura gaining the just being on top this time, even though they both didn't win, AJ decided to finish the encounter by hitting him with a phenomenal forearm onto the onto the outside. So I thought that was good. I feel like we've got at least a balanced feud at this point. No one's say what you want about 50-50 booking, but when it's done right, that's when you can truly appreciate it. And I thought here was at least a good example of bringing back the momentum to one character instead of one person just dominating overly.
I'd agree with that, yeah. And I think what this does well is obviously that as much as it's nice that as well, subtly AJ Styles has somehow surpassed Jinder Mahal as the longest running modern reign of the WWE Championship. That I think this does a better job of, while I'm not often in for count out finishes on big shows like this, it helps build towards the Backlash match between these two more than it would have been if they'd had a title change there. Or obviously, if AJ Styles had actually won and had properly, got a clean victory, you would have asked, well, why does he have a match at Backlash as well? Why does he get 3 shots at this? And by this, I do not mean his knackers.
That's one hell of a backlash.
No, I like this. I mean, I agree that I don't think that either of these guys have quite got into the same gear that they did in Japan, but equally, I don't know if they ever will, because this is a different style, obviously. This isn't Japan. And no, I think they are well on the way to... I still don't think this was the match that they can deliver in the American style, but I still think it was an improvement over Mania, and it really made me think that come Backlash, they're going to finally have the match we've all been waiting for them to have.
That's the worrying thing, though, at the minute, is that for ages we've been wanting, or fans have been wanting an AJ versus Nakamura clash, and now they're getting at least 3 within the span of less than 3 months.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's going to be too much too fast.
Especially if Nakamura wins, because then they're going to have a 4th one shortly after when AJ wants his rematch.
I mean, we were just speaking about Samoa Joe and Roman Reigns. I mean, normally if they announced that they were going to be fighting each other for the first time, I would at least be hyped for that, because that's like, these two are good. I wonder what stuff they'll pull out. But we've seen them fight. At least...
once again, this isn't a WWE Universe mode feud, whereby a 12-week feud is formed of them fighting on Raw and main event every week until the pay-per-view, when they also fight at 3 successive pay-per-views.
I'm just worried that it's going to become too much. So maybe if the next one at Backlash might be the last one, but then again, that could also mean that Nakamura is not becoming WWE champion. So that's mixed feelings for that. I'm not too sure how I feel. I'll have to reconsider that after Backlash.
Well, it's okay. You'll be able to solidify your thoughts on it in about a week's time when we talk about Backlash.
Oh, yay. 2 pay-per-view builds in one month.
I thought we were going to be free of this when they stopped having dual brand pay-per-views.
Nope, have more pay-per-views. Have them all.
We're still going to have 2 a month, but this time we're still going to just eliminate the lower mid-card from both shows.
Speaking of dual brand pay-per-views, what is that ad they've been running announcing this?
Look, the thing is that we're not afraid to dream big. We're not afraid to bring the fight. Because this is the best of both worlds, and it starts here, tonight.
See, I know you know the lyrics to this. It's because they've been constantly running it. So, of course, it's going to be ingrained into your head like Clockwork Orange style.
The thing that still throws me off every time I watch the ad is that I keep actually thinking it's Carmella singing the first time the ad starts, and then getting confused when it cuts to Naomi and it's the same singer.
I saw that too. I thought, wow, Carmella's good. Oh, wait, never mind.
Damn, what was she doing just being a backup dancer for Rihanna? She could have been a backup singer.
I mean, we all pretty much know kayfabe's dead, but can we at least pretend that it's not, instead of just having all the faces and the heels, like all the good guys and the bad guys, just singing and dancing together about unity?
To be fair, I know it's not about unity, but people saying about that, let's not forget, of course, the classic Royal Rumble ad where they had the cast of WWE doing a song about there's going to be a Rumble tonight from West Side Story.
Oh, it's so bad when you go on the network and it's just, oh look, there's the ad again. Yay. And then there's that awkward pause where Kamala's like, I need some water. Thank you. It's like it's not.
Were you keeping a bottle of water ready just for a prop gag on the off chance we brought up that ad?
I mean, I want to say yes. Because
then say it.
Yes. Totally not because I drink water during the podcast. To keep this voice luscious.
For anyone who does want to know what I'm on about, if they don't, just go to YouTube after you're finished listening to this podcast and look up the Royal Rumble 2005 ad. And enjoy The Undertaker, John Cena, and various other people in weird wigs singing.
And while you're at it, subscribe to Vulture Hound on YouTube.
Yeah, do.
You know, after that. After you've watched the podcast, then watch that video and just do that. It's all good.
But hey, talking of The Undertaker...
Oh.
Wow, these segues are getting so smooth.
It is. It's because we've not got Lee now. Sorry, Lee. Undertaker, Rusev. Casket match.
In a casket match.
This was surprising.
There were a lot of people who, especially considering the stipulation, were suggesting to bring up that word again you mentioned earlier, that this was going to be Rusev getting buried. But you know what? This was actually probably the best Undertaker match I've seen in years.
And you know why? Because it wasn't a squash match.
Yeah. Because this wasn't just him throwing all his hits slowly at John Cena for 2 minutes. The Undertaker is now not as spry as he used to be. And they covered for that well, I thought.
Definitely.
I think it helps that obviously Rusev, despite being so incredibly over, including managed to get the Rusev Day chant going here. He isn't exactly, his match style that he prefers isn't always the more fast-paced ones. So him working normally a slower style anyway meant it didn't have too much of obviously showing up the Undertaker. It allowed him to work to his strengths while covering his flaws. Apart from the obvious flaw that his neck still looks just withered as hell and he has the hat burns. Someone get him a hat that's the right size for his head.
The hat burns.
Yeah, what? He always has marks on his head from where he has the hat.
I've never analysed his head that much.
Why does he always have a hat that's too small? Are they worried about the hat being too floppy and making him look like some kind of Evelyn Waugh supporting character?
They don't want it to go to his head.
Hey.
Hey.
And also, why did they get rid of that fantastic CGI lightning from WrestleMania? That was perfect. There were no flaws to it.
Because they could afford pyro this year. This was really interesting. Just because the fact that Rusev looked strong, which is something no one expected from this match. In fact, no one was even expecting this match to even be a thing after the amounts of isn't he build up with maybe Chris Jericho in the match, and then that went away, and then it was like, oh yeah, Lana's like, Rusev could fight now.
What was that?
I don't know.
What was that?
We will never know. Probably it could have been issues backstage. It could have been an actual story. I think that's what WWE are trying to go for. It's like, no, yeah, this was a mini story we were just incorporating. It's like, yeah, but this doesn't really have a big beginning, middle, and end. It's all just like a beginning and then an end.
I'm inclined to believe maybe it was just they thought they'd grab a few more tickets by saying to everyone, The Undertaker and Chris Jericho in 2018. And then they were like, we've got no intention of doing this match, just put Rusev back in it. They're not going to give away their tickets now that they know that they're not seeing The Undertaker versus Chris Jericho.
That's true. That is true. I mean, I think it was a pretty good sight when we did see Rusev hit the camel clutch on The Undertaker. That was a pretty solid moment. Because I think it was people talking about it online about when Rusev was being taken out of the match, saying like, "Oh no, he's not. He's not grateful for being put in the match with The Undertaker." But it's obviously, if you look at his face when he's doing his moves, you can tell that he's happy to be in this situation, especially against someone like The Undertaker, which is probably, I mean, I'd dream of that. I'd want to be fighting The Undertaker in a wrestling ring, and he's actually getting to be able to do it.
After The Undertaker defeated Rusev and then hit probably his best tombstone since WrestleMania 25-ish on Aiden English, we then moved on to another match that was basically the same thing as WrestleMania, but this time at least they trimmed it down to a neat 9 minutes instead of 15. We have Brock Lesnar taking on Roman Reigns in a match that I can't believe that genuinely I sent my guess of what was going to happen as the ending to this match as a joke guess of the booking to somebody beforehand. I said to them, wouldn't it be funny if Roman speared Lesnar through the cage and he won because he landed first? Not only did I expect that not to be the case, but I didn't expect them then to have Roman's feet clearly touch the ground first in all the replays and them still be like, Brock fell first. No, it's very clear. The rules are, it's whoever's feet touch the ground first. You say it each time. No.
Well, you see the thing. See, Roman doesn't consider his feet. He considers them hands, and therefore they didn't touch his feet. Didn't touch.
What? Are you suggesting that in the Roman Reigns gimmick he's been doing
everything.
handstands this entire time, and he considers his hands his feet?
I mean, how else would you explain it? They've given a more bullshit explanation than mine. At least mine requires like external knowledge of medical reasons. Their reason requires you to not have eyes. I had two words to describe this match, and it was fuck and off. Because I am sick to death of them doing multiple finishes. I'm sick to death of the multiple German suplexes. I'm done. I'm done with this. I was done with it at WrestleMania, and now I'm super done now. Oh god. And yeah, just that finish was just the icing on the cake. Oh no, you have the cherry on top. One predicted that, oh yeah, this is where they're going to crown Roman. This is where they're going to put the belt on him because it's a foreign audience. They won't hate him as much. But they still booed him. There were still mixed reactions. If you remember, I posted in the group, if he still manages to get booed, I will pop. Oh boy, did I pop. I was a balloon boy. Because it just, how can he be this hated? It was not, it's not as, yay! There was like,
You remember back at the Royal Rumble before WrestleMania 30 when people cheered Roman Reigns kind of purely because he wasn't Batista? No offense, Batista. I like Guardians of the Galaxy. And most of your other films. But, yeah, I still don't even know if the problem is Roman Reigns. I think Roman Reigns does what he's told to do well. It's just what he's being told to do doesn't seem to work for the audience. As a result, the audience rebel. Now, I'm not saying bow to the audience's wishes. What I'm saying is keep them in mind. Because the Universal title was kind of the piss break match of this show. For people who were watching live and thought, yeah, I might need an extended piss. There's a Rumble coming up. I'm not going to want to leave my seats for about 90 minutes following this. I'll go during the main title of the main show.
I mean, I just really don't get why they didn't do it. I'm not annoyed that that it was going to be a thing that I would like. Yeah, Roman's going to win. I had that as a given, and I was just going to accept that. But I'm just more confused why they didn't do it. I mean, that's the perfect opportunity. Why have they not done it? Have they got something else in mind? Because I'd like to see it.
I understand that Brock Lesnar is still in many ways a special attraction. Except for the fact that he hasn't been interesting to watch since WrestleMania 33. Maybe during the AJ Styles match, but that was really more of an AJ Styles match featuring Brock Lesnar than it was a Brock Lesnar match. When was the last time Brock Lesnar turned up and looked interested?
I think about 2003.
I feel like it was the time he ripped apart a car and threw it at a kid.
I think wasn't there a time where he dressed up as a cowboy or something on SmackDown?
Probably.
He was in actually a funny outfit, and he actually had some, instead of just me Brock Lesnar, me smash, me German suplex, me done, me bye, take money.
Also, with the amount of talent coming into WWE at the moment, including having Kurt Angle come back, it's become quite clear that Brock Lesnar doesn't actually do the best German suplexes. He's just the biggest person who does them.
Can we get on a t-shirt? That sounds like a t-shirt quote, if I've ever heard it. So yeah, this match was a shit show. And then we got on to the actual
greatest Royal Rumble
in terms
match
of numbers
for the Mountain Dew Do the Do Shrek-coloured championship.
Yeah, they kind of announced that really quickly, didn't they? It's like, oh yeah, look, here's a belt.
So, before we get into the match itself, I want to ask, what happens with that belt? Does Braun Strowman... Does this mean Raw gets another title? Is that just a ceremonial one-night belt because the WWE like belts?
Maybe.
And I get that it's in Saudi Arabia, but why was it Shrek green? Why was it the particular green of Shrek? Is it just my mind connecting that and also Mountain Dew? Do.
I think it might be possible attempted prodding. Hey, look, get Mountain Dew on the belts. You know, you wanna just pay us money, we'll do it. Or I don't know, because I feel like, you know, the WWE do like belts. They give them out to everybody, even people that aren't wrestlers. Even like if you're an American football team and you've won the Super Bowl, here, have a belt that's got your logo on it.
Oh, what's that? 24-hour energy. You're sponsoring us. Here, have a hardcore 24/7 belt. Put it on your wall.
But yeah, you never see them coming into WWE holding that belt. You never see a representative from the Philadelphia Eagles coming down with the WWE belt, saying like, "I want to defend this." So maybe maybe Braun just takes it with him. Maybe he just puts it on his keychain because he's such a big lad. He can probably afford it.
What you mean, on his various municipal vehicles that he turns up in?
Yeah. Yes. What do you think? You think he just worked for these hands? You think his hands look like this, so Alexa's can look like that?
So the actual match, which...
Disregard.
It was... Yeah. It was fun, I guess. So we had Daniel Bryan and Dolph Ziggler to start. To which I feel like that was the WWE saying, Dolph, every time you're in a room with Daniel Bryan on WWE TV, you talk about how you wish the two of you could have had a Mania match. Here, you get what's meant to be 90 seconds at the beginning of a Rumble, in which you can have a singles match. Enjoy that much. I will tell you, I actually, because I'm that person, and telling you something about what I thought this match as to whether it was great overall or not, I decided to leave a stopwatch running between every single entrant just to see how many people actually had a 90-second increment between the two people.
See, this is the official timekeeping we get for SteelChair. We've got a man that legit has
Yeah.
a stopwatch on him 24/7, so he knows when
One.
going out.
Yeah. One. Rey Mysterio was the only person to actually get 1 minute and 30 seconds according to my timing. It went as short as Babatunde or Dan Mather got 1 minute 2, through to Elias had 2 minutes 21, and I think Braun had over 3.5 minutes before Ty Dillinger came out.
See, to me, it felt like the time limit before, like times between it, just felt so quick. It was just like some of them was like, that was definitely not 90 seconds. Some of them felt like 30, like full on 30 seconds.
For the most part, it was between 1 minute 5 to 1 minute 20 on most entrants. A handful of people got between there, and then a shorter amount of people, I say, like Braun, Elias, and I think Big E, because he had the amount of time where he was doing his "Oh Jeddah."
He
bit.
wasted so much time.
He got so much longer. The Great Khali took 1 minute 15 to get to the ring.
So, did you want to talk about notable highlights?
Well, we're just going to talk about Titus, aren't we?
Oh, Titus. Oh,
Titus.
Accidental man of the night.
We're just going to skip the first 38 people and go straight to Titus.
Making move.
Who didn't you realise Titus was number 39 in this Rumble?
Oh, yeah, there was several moments in this where I'm thinking like, oh, this Rumble's going by pretty quick. There's at least another Rumble's worth of people to come through. I'm like, oh, Jesus.
I do have some other thoughts to share very quickly about this. First thought, why was Tucker Knight of Heavy Machinery there and not Otis Dosovich, the better member of Heavy Machinery? 2. At first I thought, hey, they're actually doing some consistent Rumble-to-Rumble storytelling where Adam Cole was eliminated in the last Rumble by Rey Mysterio. They've put out Roderick Strong in there. I wonder if he's going to eliminate Rey Mysterio as revenge for Adam Cole. No. They didn't do that. They had a golden opportunity to actually do some storytelling, and they didn't. Number 3.
Ooh, okay.
So, and don't worry, this is my third thought before I'll let you complain about this some more, probably.
No, go ahead. Go.
But,
take as long as you need.
So I mentioned earlier that Kalisto won a gauntlet match to get his Cruiserweight title match against TJP, Mustafa Ali, Drew Gulak, and Tony Nese. So Tony Nese and Drew Gulak did not win that match, you may have guessed. Yet both of them got into the Rumble match instead. Interesting that that's meant to be their lack of reward for not winning the match. Also, they are currently in a bit of a feud against each other. Why put them in the match only to have Tony Nese eliminated before Drew can even get into it?
That's the problem with 50 men. You can't keep control of all of them. They just get too excited and just chuck people out before they're meant to.
And just by saying the name Hiroki Sumi, I'm going to pass over to you.
Hornswoggle. Fuck.
So can you explain what the fuck this match was?
This match was not for me. That's what I could, summarize for me. Bear in mind, guys, that for the UK, this was prime time. This is when we could watch it without having to stay up ungodly hours of the night and then have to try and get 2 hours sleep before we have to go up to work in the morning. So this was at least, it started at 4 p.m, and ran till about 10 p.m. Even though I get up for my work at about 3 o'clock in the morning, I was still more, gassed than... Well, not gassed, I wasn't doing that. I was just more just knackered just from watching it, because it was just so... I was just so tired. I wanted to sleep. And bear in mind, I've watched WrestleMania all the way through sometimes, and I've been better. So this Rumble match just felt so. I just felt so bored for it, and that's not to say there weren't highlights. I mean, Daniel Bryan lasting all the way till what was the number? He was like the third to the last person to be eliminated, and the fact that he has only been back wrestling with the WWE for what, a month, and the damage he sustained. It's like he's kicked it out of the park just for being back in the ring for what seems like a month, and his chest was so red, I felt it. I have felt every single one of those chops because my God, this man is a machine.
Yeah, I feel like it's of no surprise really for anyone who's watched any of Daniel Bryan's Ring of Honor work that he is the man to last over an hour and a quarter in a Rumble match. Considering he could quite feasibly, at the peak of his abilities, have said, what if we had an hour and a quarter, but it was just a one-fall singles match between me and Austin Aries?
Oh, Joe, don't get my hopes up. Is that real?
I don't know if it's real, but I have heard rumours that one time Daniel Bryan wanted to do a 2 out of 3 falls match with Austin Aries, with a 60-minute time limit on each fall, and then reach a time limit draw at the first 2 falls, and then he eventually tapped out Austin Aries after about 45 minutes of fall 3. But Ring of Honor said, no, Daniel, you can't have a 2.5-hour match.
But I want it.
Sorry, I mean no Bryan.
I mean the fact that you could probably definitely do that now, and that would sell out. Cody Rhodes, you got All In. Book this match. Come on, you know you want to. You know you want it.
If you can just find a way to agree a deal of Daniel Bryan to leave and do a second day of All In. That's just a 3-hour show where there's one match and it's Daniel Bryan versus Zack Sabre Jr. I would watch it.
I wouldn't just watch it, I'd live it. I would live this.
Yeah. I would travel to Chicago for that 3 hour.
And also, make it. This is a testament to the match. That's the fact we're fantasy booking other matches.
There were a lot of fun spots in this. I liked the traditional. I thought the Kofi Kingston spot was one of the funnier ones, actually, with him nearly being eliminated and clinging on to Xavier Woods, and then Xavier climbing the ropes with him still on his back and then jumping over him back in. I liked what's his name? Tyler Breeze escaping elimination briefly by jumping into Fandango's arms and then being placed back on the apron only to be knocked off. I liked Shane McMahon doing the one thing Shane McMahon does really well, which is dying for our entertainment.
Yeah, geez, that looked really rough. When they showed back the replay, he almost missed the table.
For anyone who's worked out from a name that Ranchko is a Polish surname, I was happy seeing Babatunde Ayagbusi in the match, as he's a good Polish lad, all 6'10" of him.
See, that's where I kind of fell off, because when these guys came out, I'm like, wait, who are these guys? I don't know who they are.
I think the answer is who these guys are the people that we have in the match because we couldn't get Big Show or Drew McIntyre or Kane.
I guess that's true. I was just like,
I definitely feel that for some reason issues happened, and that's why Dan Mather, Tucker, and Babatunde were in the match.
I do agree, though. I wish it could have been Otis. Just him, like, waddling down to the ring.
He comes in, does his thing, screams at some people, does the worm, and Grandmaster Sexay comes out, and everyone pops when they realise he's actually all 3 members of Team Too Cool in one human being.
I just love the way he talks. I would just want... Yep. He doesn't even need to cut a promo. He just has to take the mic and just go...
I would like it if they actually went one step further than Shinsuke Nakamura's current I don't speak English gimmick and just had him talk constantly in gibberish, just like...
like he's a Banjo-Kazooie character.
Yes, exactly. In fact, I want them to re-gimmick and repackage Heavy Machinery as Banjo-Kazooie.
Oh my god!
And if they
could
can't
totally
get
do
the
it.
rights to it, ukulele.
They could totally do it. Oh man, this is so good. I want this to happen.
And once again, we're not talking about the match again.
Again, we're talking about possible other booking.
And if you want to know some more of my fan bookings, look for my other podcast where I explain to you why when Dean Ambrose returns, he should be repackaged as Steamed Hambros.
I want to hate that, but I
but
can't.
You don't.
I don't. Also, why are you shilling another podcast?
I don't have another podcast.
Oh, good. There's only one podcast in the world, and it's ours.
Yeah, we're the only wrestling podcast.
We have a monopoly.
Why has no one else thought of doing it?
Braun Strowman won.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, that happened. Which I didn't expect. I kind of expected Daniel Bryan to win.
Yeah, but they have to push that Daniel Bryan Big Cass match.
Yay. It was weird Braun Strowman winning, not because he won, but because he looked so, like, slightly nervous when he got the trophy and the belt. Mostly because the Saudi prince was handing him the trophy and the belt.
Yeah.
One false move, you dead. He even did that. The Saudi prince even did a... I'm sorry, I can't remember his name. I didn't think to check that quickly. But he fake handed him the belt and then pulled it back like, nah, it's mine. Nah, just kidding, here you go. And then Braun Strowman was like, yeah, good joke.
I was really hoping he'd just be like, huh, and then choke slammed the Saudi prince.
No, that would have made him a heel. They would have turned him full heel there.
Oh, that does remind me, we completely skipped over the segment with the Daivaris.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the Daivaris.
Sean Daivari is back. And he came out with his brother to wave an Iranian flag and get beaten up by some people who came for a tryout in Saudi Arabia.
Who did the basic performance center moves you learn in the first week.
Yep. Of push, kick, slam,
clothesline,
taunt to the audience.
Say your name. There we go. You're over now.
Talk about how great it is that Saudi Arabia is actually a really progressive place. Did you know women can drive there now?
I thought we weren't going to open this can of worms.
Oh, God, no.
The worms are everywhere. They're driving cars.
So do you think Rey Mysterio is actually going to stick around this time, or do you think he's just going to keep doing appearances at Rumbles?
I mean, he's got a consistent track record now. I feel like if they keep giving him money, then he'll turn off. Because it's just been like, do you want to come to a full-time contract? I don't know. Here, have some money. Okay, I'll make one appearance.
I feel like he's... I'd still like him to actually be able to make good on his promise of a Jushin Liger match before he went back for another full-time contract if he did.
I wanted that. I wanted that so much. But he had was it an arm injury?
Yeah.
Damn it,
but
Ray.
You know what? As long as he's not still having to do 5-star wrestling, I'm happy.
And on that note,
yeah,
that was our review of the greatest Royal Rumble in terms of numbers. The last bit is in brackets. Was it a good show? Was it a bad show? Joe?
Much like Roman Reigns, it wasn't a good show, it wasn't a bad show. It was the show.
Oh, well, that completely slipped my mind. Why don't I not do that? Suffering succotash, son, why are you doing this to me?
Believe that. And on that note, if you want to find us on Twitter, you can follow me at NotJoeRonchka, NotJoeRaczka.
You can find me at JamesRT101, where I tweet many things.
And you can also find the magazine that this wonderful podcast is built around, SteelChair Magazine at SteelChair Mag.
And on that, we shall bid you adieu.
Bye.